Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss DeMayo. Welcome back to Science Today. Now that we have finished our soil investigation and learned a lot about soil and all of its properties, we now are going to complete our reading in our science textbook about soil. So, up here, you could see a heading called What is Soil? So, feel free to follow along right on your screen here, or you can follow along in your science textbook that you have with you at home. So, what is soil? Have you ever dug a hole in the ground? What did you remove to make the hole? Soil. Sometimes people call it dirt, but a scientist calls the layer of diggable material that covers planet Earth soil. What is soil? If you pick up a handful of soil and look at it closely, you might be able to see and feel what soil is made of. Soil is mostly made of several sizes of rock. You might see pebbles and smaller pieces of gravel. Soil usually contains sand. Particles of sand are really tiny rocks. Some pieces of rock are even smaller than grains of sand. Smaller pieces are called silt. The smallest pieces of rock are clay particles. Clay particles are too small to see, but you can feel them. Clay feels slippery when it is wet. So, soil is a mixture of different sized rocks, pebbles, gravel, particles of sand, and even smaller particles of silt and clay, along with water and air. Rocks, air, and water are earth materials. But there is more to soil than just earth materials. So, before heading on to the next page, I just want to discover some of the text features that we have here on this page. So, up on the top right corner, we have a boy with a shovel digging into soil, and I can see that by looking at the caption underneath. Over here, we have a chart displayed for us, and it's titled Rock Size Chart. So, we discussed these types of rocks in our reading up here. Some of the rocks are pebbles, gravel, sand, silt, and clay. And over here is what the size of these types of rocks looks like. So as you can see, a pebble is the largest kind of rock, and clay is the smallest kind of rock. It is invisible to the bare eye. So it goes in order from biggest all the way down to smallest. And over here is a picture of soils. It looks like somebody's hands are holding the soil, and it's captioned, "Soil is mostly made of rock in several sizes, along with water and air." So we now know after the reading the components that make up soil are earth materials, and we know earth materials contain rock, air, and water. And now depending on the soil, which we also experienced in our experiment, there's different kind of rocks in types of soil, which makes it different from one to the next. So let's go on to the next page of our reading. And let's continue. Soil also contains organic material. Organic material is the remains of dead plants and animals. Plants send their roots into the soil, and animals dig into the soil. When plants and animals die, their remains become part of the soil. Plants and animals decay into tiny pieces called humus. Humus provides nutrients for plants. Humus also helps the soil retain water. Now, just in case we don't know what these words mean, so plants and animals decay. Another word for decay is that it is no longer here with us. It disappears or dissolves into tiny pieces called humus. Humus provides nutrients for plants. Okay. Humus also helps the soil retain water. So retain means it helps sustain or helps the water remain. Okay, so let's read on. What is an animal that lives in soil? Worms. Worms are good for soil and help plants grow. Worms burrow through the soil. As they move, worms mix the soil and make passageways for air and water. Worm waste also adds nutrients that are good for soil and plants. So as we could see in this picture right here, this is a worm in soil, okay? And this picture over here is representing two different types of soil. So up here is the above layer of the ground, and then this is what it looks like underground. Okay, let's look at the caption right here. Not all soils are alike. Some kinds of soil have more humus. Some soils have more clay. Some have more sand, pebbles, and gravel. And we learned about that on the first page. There's all different types of soil depending on what types of rocks that they have, if some have more humus than others, and all of Earth's materials. Okay, so these are some questions that you'll see at the bottom of page 5, but these will be questions that you're going to be answering in your science notebook. Now, before we move on to the activities and the other directions, I would like to play this video for you because you have to observe what's going on in this video and write your observations in your science notebook. So let's take a look at the video and see what we observe. Okay, so that was the end of the video. Okay, so let's go back to the directions slide. So you were to watch this video to listen to our reading, and this is the video you're currently watching. Now you need to complete the main idea and supporting details chart on slide 19 in your science notebook. Okay, you'll be writing the main idea of today's reading in your science textbook as well as the 3 supporting details. So here is day 5 in our science notebook, and here is slide 19. So you're going to be writing the main idea in this text box based on the reading. If you need to go back to the reading, you most certainly can to figure out the main idea and then fill in 3 supporting details. So you'll be writing detail number 1, 2, and 3 next to these words. Now you'll also see on slide 20, this is where you're going to record your worm observations. So what do you observe in the video? You're going to write your response here. Make sure you are writing anything and everything that you observed in the video. How do you think worms affect soil? So write your response over here. How do you think those worms crawling around in the soil affect it? So think back to the reading and think back to our experiment. And then the last question is, can you identify any structures? So what structures did you see in the video that was played for you? Now, if you go back to the directions slide, all of this is written for you in the directions, but it's you can also review the video again if you need on your own time by accessing the science ebook, and then it will tell you exactly how to locate the video. But you can always just scroll back in this video if you would like to watch it again. Have fun today, boys and girls.